You know what's interesting about silence? It's never really silent at all. Sometimes the quietest moments between two people are screaming the loudest truths. And I think you've been sensing that lately, haven't you? There's something happening beneath the surface with this person you're thinking about right now. And I want to talk to you today about what God might be revealing to you through the stillness, through the waiting, through those moments when you wonder if what you're feeling is just in your head, or if there's actually something real unfolding that you can't quite name yet. I've walked with enough people through seasons of uncertainty in relationships to know that when you're lying awake at night, replaying conversations, analyzing the way someone said goodbye, or wondering why their energy toward you shifted without explanation, you're not losing your mind. You're actually paying attention. And that's the first thing I want you to understand today. Your intuition, when it's aligned with wisdom and not anxiety, is often God's way of preparing you to see something before it fully reveals itself. The Bible tells us in Proverbs that the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out. Think about that for a moment. Deep waters don't give up their secrets easily, and neither do people who are wrestling with feelings they haven't sorted through themselves yet. This person you're connected to, whether it's someone you're in a relationship with, someone you used to know, or someone you're just beginning to understand, they're carrying something they haven't said out loud. Maybe they don't have the words for it yet, or maybe they're afraid of what those words would change if they were spoken. But here's what I've learned after years of watching people navigate love and connection and all the messy, beautiful complexity that comes with it. Hidden feelings don't stay hidden forever. They leak out in small ways, in the spaces between what's said and what's not said. They show up in the way someone looks at you when they think you're not watching, in the tone of their voice when they ask you about your day, in the sudden distance that appears without explanation, or the unexpected closeness that catches you off guard. And I think you've been noticing these signs, haven't you? The shift in their behavior that doesn't quite match their words, the way they reach out and then pull back, like they're testing the waters but not ready to dive in. The moments when you catch something in their eyes that tells you there's a conversation happening inside them that you're not part of yet. It's confusing, I know, and it can make you question everything you thought you understood about where you stand with them. But today, I want to offer you a different lens to look through, one that's rooted not in fear or obsession, but in the kind of patient wisdom that trusts God's timing, even when your heart wants immediate answers. Because the truth is, when someone is hiding their feelings, whether those feelings are love, hurt, regret, hope, or fear, it's rarely about you. Let me say that again because it's important. When someone can't be honest about what they're feeling toward you, it's almost always because they're in the middle of their own internal battle and you just happen to be standing in the territory they're fighting over. Maybe they're afraid of rejection, afraid that if they tell you how much you mean to them, you'll walk away, or worse, you'll stay out of obligation and not genuine desire. Maybe they're carrying wounds from their past that make vulnerability feel like weakness, and they've convinced themselves that needing someone is the same as being broken. Maybe they're not hiding love at all, but rather hiding the fact that they're not ready for what you're offering, and they don't know how to say that without hurting you. Or maybe, and this is where it gets really tender, they're hiding feelings because they're just now beginning to recognize them themselves, and the realization is so new and so frightening that they need time to sit with it before they can bring it into the light. I've seen this happen so many times. Someone who swore they saw you as just a friend, suddenly finding themselves unable to shake the thought of you. Someone who walked away convinced they were done, suddenly missing you in ways that don't make sense to them. The heart doesn't operate on our timelines, and it definitely doesn't ask permission before it changes its mind. Jesus talked about this in a different context, but the principle holds true. He said, "No one lights a lamp and puts it under a bowl, but instead they put it on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house." What's real eventually has to come out into the open. What's true can't stay buried indefinitely. And the feelings this person is carrying, whatever they are, will surface in time if you're willing to give both them and yourself the grace to let it happen naturally rather than forcing it through pressure or manipulation. Now, I want to pause here and talk directly to those of you who are tempted to dig, to interrogate, to engineer situations where this person has to reveal what they're feeling before they're ready. I understand that urge completely. When you care about someone and you can sense there's something unspoken between you, the not knowing can feel unbearable. But forcing someone's hand before God has prepared their heart rarely leads anywhere good. I think about the story of Joseph in the book of Genesis, how he was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold in slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned for years before the purpose of his suffering became clear. During all that time, God was working in ways Joseph couldn't see, preparing him for a moment when he would save the very people who betrayed him. But imagine if Joseph had tried to rush that process, if he'd forced his way out of prison or manipulated his circumstances to get revenge on his brothers the moment he had the power to do so. The entire redemption story would have collapsed. Sometimes the waiting is where the work happens. Sometimes the silence is where the transformation takes place. And sometimes what feels like rejection or distance is actually someone wrestling with God about what they truly want, what they're truly ready for, what they're truly brave enough to step into. Your job in this season isn't to be a detective or a fortune teller. Your job is to stay rooted in your own worth, to keep your heart open without leaving it unguarded, and to trust that if this connection is meant to deepen, God will orchestrate the revelation in His perfect timing. There's a sign I want you to watch for, something subtle that many people miss because they're looking for grand gestures and explicit declarations. The sign is this: consistency in the small things even when the big things remain unspoken. When someone has hidden feelings for you, real feelings, not just infatuation or convenience, they can't help but show care in the details. They remember what you said in passing 3 weeks ago. They check in on you when they know you're going through something difficult. They defend you when you're not in the room. They make space for you in their life even when they're not making promises about the future. This is the difference between someone who's playing games and someone who's genuinely conflicted, someone who's being careless with your heart and someone who's trying to be careful of their own. If this person is showing up for you in ways that don't make sense for the level of relationship you've officially defined, that's often a sign that their feelings run deeper than they're ready to admit. But if they're only around when it's convenient, only affectionate when they want something, only interested when someone else shows interest in you, then what they're hiding might not be love at all. It might be selfishness, insecurity, or fear of being alone. And you deserve to know the difference. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians that love is patient and kind. It doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it isn't proud, it doesn't dishonor others, it isn't self-seeking, it isn't easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. That's not just a wedding verse, that's a measuring stick for how people should treat you while they're figuring out their feelings. Hidden feelings are one thing, hidden motives are something else entirely. So, as you're watching this person, as you're noticing the signs and trying to understand what's happening beneath the surface, I want you to also turn that same attention inward. What are you hoping to find? Are you looking for validation that you're worth choosing, or are you genuinely ready for whatever truth emerges, whether it's what you want to hear or not? Because here's something I've noticed in my own journey and in walking with others. Sometimes we become so focused on uncovering someone else's hidden feelings that we ignore the feelings we're hiding from ourselves. Maybe you're hiding from the truth that you already know this person isn't treating you the way you deserve to be treated, but you're afraid of being alone, so you're convincing yourself that their mixed signals are just confusion, when really they're a form of cowardice. Maybe you're hiding from the truth that you're more in love with potential than with the person standing in front of you right now, and you're waiting for them to become someone they've never shown any real intention of becoming. Or maybe, and this is the hardest one, maybe you're hiding from the reality that you're using this person's uncertainty as an excuse not to deal with your own unhealed places, your own patterns, your own tendency to choose people who keep you guessing because the ambiguity feels safer than the risk of being fully known and fully chosen. God doesn't want you stuck in that cycle. He didn't create you to spend your life decoding someone else's emotional hieroglyphics while neglecting your own growth and peace. There's a beautiful verse in the Psalms where David says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts." That's the kind of honesty I'm inviting you into today. Not obsessive analysis of someone else's every move, but courageous examination of your own heart so you can discern what's worth waiting for and what you need to release. Let me tell you what I believe is happening for some of you watching this. I believe this person does have feelings they haven't shared with you yet. I believe there is something real underneath the surface, something that's been growing without either of you fully acknowledging it. But the revelation of those feelings isn't the finish line. It's actually just the beginning of a much longer journey of building something real together. And that journey requires